Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce, I'm back.
Yeah,
How are you?
I'm doing well. We went a couple games in your absence. Mice
Yeah,
will
that was.
play, when the cat's away, and we did all right. I mean, other than my mic went to shit in the first podcast, I had some kind of meltdown in my microphone system that had observers stating that it sounded like I was dialing it in from a submarine. But anyway, other than that, I thought the exchange with Kurt was good. It was fun to change things up once in a while.
It was, and it was fun for me to listen to the
Hmm.
podcast. It was a little. I mean, I admit, Bruce, it was a little painful the one night there with the sound
Yeah.
quality.
Oh,
But anyway,
yeah.
what's done is done.
I,
That's
I
not the first time, and it won't be the last time we've
I
had
watched
technical
you and Kurt do a
difficulties.
couple when I was away, and I enjoyed it the same way, just as a bystander, as a consumer of the Cult of Hockey podcast.
It's just funny. It made me realize, and this might sound, the word that it was kind of comforting. And
Hmm.
I don't know why, I don't know exactly why that was, but I just think just two kind of old time fans talking hockey, there's something just comforting about it. And it's in a weird way. So that's how it made me feel. It was like, it was
Good,
just very, nice. It was
good.
good.
Well, I enjoyed talking to Kurt. He's a very congenial fellow, as you know.
That's for sure.
And he knows a lot. He knows his game. He was giving it to Dave Tippett pretty good on Saturday, and he had his reasons, and
Oh, he made an excellent point there. That thing about
yeah.
overtime, and what a great strategy. Put out some checkers, just check Draisaitl and McDavid for that long, and then put out your star players because they're going to stay out too long. And bammo.
Boom.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's. Well,
Let's
that is
turn
a
to
good.
tonight's game, but yeah.
That is a good way to segue because the Oilers really need it. Like this is the okay in other seasons, Bruce. In the decade of darkness plus, this is the game the Oilers lose for sure. This is the game, that it's a statement game.
Four,
They just
five,
they
one.
they lost to Dallas. They gave away the game. They kind of puked it up in an embarrassing fashion, and they lost to San Jose in last time in San Jose. They got stomped in that old San Jose way, point shot after point shot deflected in. So in the old days, the Oilers would have come in here and they would have maybe even given them a good game, but they would have lost 3-2, maybe in overtime. They wouldn't have won. And they came in here this game and they had their best team effort of the season. They grade A chances 17-9 for the Oilers. Um,
Yeah.
Everything, so that was a statement.
The,
I liked it.
the shots on net did not tell the story of this game. In the first
No.
period, it was like 18-9 or something, the shots, and the scoring chances were even. San Jose, they did have that one big flurry, right? Right
Yeah.
after Oilers made it 2-0, they had like 6 shots on net in 33 seconds, and I think four of them were scoring chances. And they
Yeah.
scored. And the one they did score was actually a total, complete fluke.
What a weird goal. That
Yeah, like I
happens.
don't know that. Yeah, I mean, I was trying to score the scoring chances, and I just couldn't find anybody even to fault on that particular goal. But
But when that does happen is after lots of pressure, right?
it was a
And then
breakdown.
things are
Yeah,
discombobulated and bad things happen.
yeah,
So we're gonna
yeah.
do our world famous in Edmonton, uh, among our listeners. Two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast. Bruce, what was your good thing?
Well, I'm going to tip the hat today to the workhorse Oscar Klefbom and the monstrous game that he played. Over half of the 60 minutes he played. Not very often you see that from a defenseman. But with the Oilers losing Matt Benning early in the first period, they were down to five defensemen pretty quick, and two of those guys were rookies, and so they had to lean pretty hard on uh, Klefbom, on Nurse, who I thought had a terrific game, on Chris Russell, but especially Klefbom, 31 minutes and 38 seconds. In fact, he led the Oilers in ice time, in shifts with 31, in average ice time, in power play time, shorthanded time, and even strength time on defense. Like every category, Oscar was the mail carrier. And he did carry the mail. He also led the team with 3 shots. He blocked 4. He had a couple of hits. And he just played a grinding work workhorse game. Not perfect. There was a couple mistakes in there, but he sure made it. He won a lot of battles in the corners, and as the night went on, more and more times the puck would come in on Klefbom's watch, and it would safely go out of the Oilers' zone with him playing some role in the change of possession and the breakout. And he was, to me, he was just rock solid and a mainstay. I mean, like I say, he played half the game, so credit where due. And he wound up with 2 assists. Great pass too on the first goal. The pass
Oh, the
across
Granlund
to
pass.
Marcus
Yeah.
Granlund, that was
Yeah.
sweet. Like right across to the back door. Like that's a vision pass. And if I've had a criticism of Klefbom in the past, it's that his vision is not necessarily that great. But he's made a couple of real nice backdoor passes in the last few games, and
I have I
getting rewarded.
I like to see him succeed, especially I like to see him succeed on the power play. And it's when I put my GM hat on
Mhm.
because he's signed up for the next
Right.
three
It's
years.
not going to
And
cost them this summer
no,
if he
so but if
scores a
they put
pile of points.
yeah, if Bear or Nurse goes on the
Either
power
one.
play, go on the it would be Bear. But if Ethan Bear goes in the power play and puts up 15 power play points in the rest of the regular season, which he could easily do,
Right.
that's going to cost the Oilers like $1 million or $2 million a year. So, yeah, it's good to see the guy who signed up long term on the power play and succeeding there. So I had to look up the word monstrous because you said he played a monstrous game, Bruce. Because I'm thinking monstrous, but you know what? One of the definitions is extremely and dauntingly large.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Huge.
the sense that you use the word in, and that was
Yes,
a
absolutely.
correct usage of the word there. So
Monstrous,
a monstrous
gargantuan,
game. Yeah,
leviathan,
that's
elephantine. He was big.
you know, yeah. And then in the new phrases, he played a monster game, but yeah, monstrous also works very well. Okay, my good thing, Bruce, was the total team effort. I talked about this earlier. It's what everyone's talking about, of course, on Twitter right now. It's just the total team effort because it's hard to think of a player who didn't really contribute to this win. There's scoring from, I think, a player on every single line scored a goal. James Neal
Yep.
got his on the power play. And what a power play goal that was. What a snipe. Good
Yeah.
to see him doing that. It was just every defense pairing worked. Bruce, the Oilers they have 7 defensemen. If you include Adam Larson and the 6 players who played tonight, they have 7 defensemen who can play at the NHL level, including, including, and I would say all 7 can kind of hang in there in a top 4 role if needed. If needed, it's not ideal, obviously, if you had, let's say, Chris Russell and Matt Benning in your top 4, but they can hang in there. And I thought Chris Russell was tonight. He had such a low event game, but he was just superb the whole game. And Bear and Nurse, they have been in a bit of a defensive slump in the last
Yes, big
little while.
time.
They've been starting to get eaten up a little bit, which will happen anytime you're the top pairing defense. That happens. It's really hard to avoid it. But they came up so big tonight. They
They
were
were good.
just fantastic. Nurse wheeling that puck and Bear passing it, playing hard defense, making some great plays on the attack. Um, just a fantastic game. Leon Draisaitl extended his point streak. Mikko Koskinen in the net, just playing lights out as he has done pretty much every game all year long, to give him credit. And let's just think of the abuse that was hurled on him and Chiarelli for that contract. But he's doing a little jujitsu on his critics here. He's just looking fine. So it made me believe this was a game, Bruce, that made me believe. It made me think these Oilers look for real. This looks like a team where everyone's starting to understand their role, play their role, and they have these 6 defensemen and 2 goalies that you need to compete in the NHL, something they've lacked forever
Well,
since 2006.
having 2 goalies, I mean, that's um, having 2 goalies you can count on. That's a slump buster. If you have one goalie and he goes sour for a little bit, and you're counting on that guy, let's call him Cam Talbot, and let's say he goes off his game for a while, and you got a backup that you're afraid to use. And it used to be that they'd get Talbot would lose 2 or 3 in a row, and then they'd say, "Well, we got to win this game. We got to go with our best back to Talbot," and that would just. And whereas now it seems this year that no matter what the team does, win or lose, that both goalies are going to play. and they're going to sit for a maximum of 2 games and get back in there. I fully expect Mike Smith to play on Thursday night, and as he should, and they'll split the games Saturday, Sunday, but they'll have a fresh goalie in each game, and so that's a important element that they have two goalies that are both playing pretty solid. Like they're not the best in the league, but they don't have the worst goaltending. It's not Victor Fast and Ben Scrivens, right? I mean, it's two guys that are somewhere in the middle of the pack, and they're going to keep the team in some games, and they've done exactly that.
Yeah, and two goalies that came into the season with a lot of doubts, including by me and by pretty much every fan, I think. If fans are honest, just like
if you weren't doubtful, you weren't paying attention.
Yes.
You
Yeah, it's an interesting time for Oilers fans because we were kind of expecting some gloom and doom. And think about last year at this time. I mean, Zach Cassian, Bruce, is playing lights out hockey right now. He's like 40th in even strength scoring in the entire NHL for forwards. If not better than that, because he got another one tonight. A year ago, he was so in the doghouse. He was benched for a couple games. He was in the press box. And everyone, if you know what, there was talk, everyone probably crossed many fans' mind, like, oh, they should maybe trade the guy. But some people would say, I don't think you can trade him. No team's going to take that contract. Just got another year at $1.95 million. He's overpaid for a fourth liner. And look at him.
Yeah. I think he had last year after 27 games, he had 1 point. And now he's pumping them in, like he scored three straight games. And then he had a long drought for goals, but he was playing good and he was getting points and he was getting a lot of, plays where our system at the Cult of Hockey of measuring scoring chances would recognize some contribution by Cassian that wouldn't show up in the score sheet, but he'd be in the goalie's face and the screenshot would beat him, and lots of times.
He's crushing it on the scoring chance metric. He's really crushing it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's really chipping in his part. And there's this one guy here, Connor McDavid, that guy. Oh yeah, look at that. 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, +1, a penalty, and right across the board contributions in this game. So he's starting to pick it up now, and he's gaining ground on Leon Draisaitl in the Great Edmonton scoring race.
Isn't that sweet? Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And, and the checking line, I kind of like that. Riley Shea and go ahead.
I was going to say, you want to know what's sweet? I got both of them in my pool.
And good for you.
A keeper league. Like
if you had,
mine.
All right. Well, you got some luck to get McDavid, but Draisaitl was pure skill.
I won the lottery that year. Anyway.
I was just saying the third line I thought was Sheahan and Archibald and Nygaard. I really like that. I like that as a checking line because that's got some speed. Like Sheahan, I think really works better with two faster wingers. And I thought it was maybe Archibald's best game. He was in it. He got a chance or two. And
it was Sheahan's best game too.
He was
really good. He was good on the dot. And he was winning battles and stealing pucks and just getting in their faces and not making it easy for him. And good on the penalty kill. So,
what is your? Let's move on to the bad things. What's your bad thing?
My bad thing is just a little letdown / meltdown that the Oilers had at the end of the second period when they had just established, spread their lead to 4-1, and they got a power play. They finally got a power play after about 85 missed fouls early in the game. Not to say anything more about the refs, but they got a power play. And then whatever happened, they completely fell asleep and gave up basically a clear breakaway. 20 seconds to go in the period, shorthanded, with a 3-goal lead. Like of all the nightmare scenarios, you just can't have it. And Koskinen comes up with the big stop there. That changes the game, man. San Jose scores there. They come out in the third period, and Edmonton's going, oh, we're 4-2 ahead after second again. And they start thinking, and instead, the save is made, the problem went away, but I noticed it. I wasn't impressed.
Yeah. Every goalie loves, every defenseman or forward who fails on the back check, like Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl did on that play, loves their goalie when they make that save because it just makes it all go away. Suddenly everyone's like, yay, we got a great goalie, instead of like, oh, you guys suck. So
for about 5 seconds there, those guys sucked. and it could have turned the game, and then Koskinen made the same save. So even our bad thing had a good thing at the end of it.
So my bad thing was um, Evander Kane's reckless play. I mean, that was an asinine play, and what are you doing? What are you doing?
Clubbing an opponent in the face with your hockey stick?
He's trying to get the puck out that high. You know that someone's gonna. He's an NHL player. He can sense Benning's there. What is he doing? That is just such a stupid, reckless play. It reminded me of Cassian's slash on Gagne. I was actually watching that. I did a piece on Cassian's emergence, and I was looking at some of the physical plays he's been involved in over the years, and that was very, very similar. That kind of reckless play with a stick that Cassian really harmed Sam Gagne, and I don't know. I just think
you hear anything
should
about Benning other than he was out?
No, I haven't heard anything yet.
And that could easily be a broken jaw,
For sure, for sure. So
he just clubbed him. I'm thinking
a mass play.
I'm thinking, isn't beheading at least like a 2-minute minor in this league? Like, no penalty for that. Hello.
He went full Saudi Arabia on that play.
And that wasn't the only guy he hacked. I know he chopped Chris Russell right in the head in the third period on a forecheck. Followed through at the high arms, and they got him with the stick right in the shaft of the stick right in the chops. And there was a few, man. A little bit of stick work going on out there, but give Edmonton credit. They hung in, and even when the calls didn't go their way, which included not just the refs, but the linesmen, who apparently have no idea how the icing rule works, is my takeaway from that game. Cost Edmonton a goal, by the way. But
in the third period, that
Draisaitl goes right through Brendan Dillon. Right through.
Yeah, how is that icing?
Like, that gets waved off every single time. I've been watching hockey for 55 years. It gets waved off every single time.
Yeah.
Somehow Dillon it's icing.
How did Dillon miss that? I don't have no idea.
Went right through him.
Yeah.
He was waiting at the blue line. Draisaitl just sort of lobbed it out to him so he could get to the change. And the next thing you know, they have to go and line up for a face-off when they're out of wind. And anyway, the fact is the Oilers took a few slings and arrows tonight. They took a few stray sticks. They didn't get a few calls they might have got, and they just battled through all that. So, I mean, ultimately, the silver lining is bigger than the dark cloud.
Well, and here we have the defensive depth with Adam Larsson ready to come back right now. And if Benning's out, problem solved on a certain level. They got a guy ready to step in. And this is the first time in forever. Again, I mentioned this earlier in the podcast, but they've also got, William Lagesson on the farm. If one more guy got hurt, William Lagesson can play third pairing NHL defense. And the fact of the matter is probably Evan Bouchard could too play third pairing and get by and be okay. So this is the most depth that the Oilers have had since, I don't know when, Bruce. Like, it's just since the 1980s on defense. Is that a fair? Since 1990? I mean, it's 2006. They got the depth when they traded for Spacek, but
they had a really good defense around 2008-09 when they
did have six guys.
Wisnowski, Grabeshkov, the double agent, Gilbert, Smead, and Stayos, and that was their big six. And that was the team that had no forwards, but the defense was actually not bad. But I mean, they have one line of forwards, but that was basically it.
They did have six decent defensemen then, six guys who could play, and this year they have 6 plus 2 or 3, right, who can step in and get the job done. All right, are we on numbers here? Is it your turn for the?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the number 1, and that is multi-purpose number tonight. Number 1 to Marcus Granlund for his first goal. As an Edmonton Oiler, he did previously have an assist on a defensive zone face-off that Colby Cave converted into a goal.
I remember that rush, yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't his first point. One also to Riley Sheahan, who had his first point as an Oiler tonight on the terrific, hard-working goal that really put this game away, I thought, very late in the first period. And it turned out to be the game winner, where Jujhar Khaira was on a partial line change, but it was Kara and Shane and uh, Archibald, and they were just steamrolling around the San Jose end, and the Sharks couldn't handle them. And finally, Kara got the puck out high in the slot, and he let fly through a massive sort of triple screen and picked a corner, and 3-1, and that really changed the whole rest of the game. And Edmonton really took over after that. Like I think they had 11 scoring chances to 3 the rest of the way. Like that was a big turning point in the game. So first point each for those, and then the other purpose of one is that Leon Draisaitl's lead over Connor McDavid is now down to 1 point. It was as many as 5 a few games ago, but Connor's gradually, well, quickly closing down the deficit. He got 3 tonight, and Leon only got 1. So they're down 44-43 in the Great Edmonton scoring race.
I have one more to add to that, Bruce. The Oilers
Sure.
are tied for
Number
first.
1. Yeah.
They're tied for first in the Western Conference with the St. Louis Blues. Blues have a game in hand, but the Oilers are tied for first after 23 games. So we're almost at the mythical but somewhat meaningless American Thanksgiving mark for rating hockey teams. And I say it's kind of somewhat meaningless because the idea is, well, if you're in the playoffs there, you're set. But as we know from last year, that's not necessarily true. St. Louis was out, as were a number of other teams that made the playoffs in the end. So nonetheless, a good
teams
sign.
That were in eventually fell out. So it's
yeah, that's right. So we'll see.
It's more meaningful than Canadian Thanksgiving. I'll say that.
Yeah. So my numbers are 5 and 6, which are the losing winless streaks. I would call them losing streaks of the 5 games for the Calgary Flames, 6 for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Wowzer, Bruce. And I do take happiness in the failure of those two teams.
Schadenfreude.
Mainly because we get such grief from Toronto about we have gotten such grief from Toronto media and some Toronto fans about McDavid. Reading his body language and saying he wants out of here, and just so happy to jump on that at the second it, and to treat it with great gravity and credibility the second it happens. So it's hard, even though I know some great Leafs fans out there.
So do I.
Some fantastic fans. It's hard to get that out of your head though. That kind of nastiness, kind of unthinking nastiness in Toronto in regards to McDavid and the Oilers. So if they lose, I'm happy. So I'm happy tonight. Well, Calgary, of course, that's a different story. That's just the old Edmonton Calgary rivalry, and they've got some players that are worth hating on that team, don't they? Like they used to have Robin Regier.
They had lots of guys.
They've had lots of guys, and now they've got Matthew Tkachuk.
They used to have Neil Sheehy and Gary Suter and Paul Baxter all on the same defense corps, Dave.
Yeah, Jamie McCown. Yeah, they've had no Theo Fleury. They've had no shortage of players who just really can drive you crazy. So, who else they had? They had Regier and someone else on that team.
They had that Denny Gauthier. Now that was a guy. He wasn't very heralded, but he used to injure guys. I didn't respect him because he would take advantage of an opponent in a vulnerable position and follow through and try and put him out and do so. And that's the Matt Cook mentality that I just don't have a lot of time for.
Regier hit Alice Kamsky so hard.
That night he ran him into the dasher board.
Almost every game it was hard to watch. Anyway, so yeah, the Flames are the Flames, and they're easy not to like. I have actually less antipathy towards the Flames than I do for the Leafs because of the kind of this unthinking malice, thoughtlessness towards Edmonton and Edmonton fans. Like just it gets under.
That's just a traditional rivalry more than anything with Calgary.
Yeah, in Calgary, that's right. It's just a traditional rivalry. Although tonight, when Kane made that play, I started to hate San Jose all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. If a team has some cheap play, like players who are prone to that kind of play, it does make them a lot easier to hate than other teams, and hadn't seen so much of that from San Jose in the past, but there was some plays from Evander Kane tonight that got me going. So 5 and 6, Bruce, are we going to see coaches fired, GMs fired?
Hard to say, but it's the plank's getting short. So I got to give one more shout out to one guy that I also shouted out on Saturday, or I guess Kurt did. Jujhar Khaira scored the winning goal tonight. 1 goal, his 4th of the season. He led the Oilers in shots and hits and the forwards in block shots. Like he was everywhere and solid on the penalty kill again. And he's just got his mojo back. I mean, I'm sure a month ago, David, there was probably, if you took a poll, Jujhar Khaira, get rid of him, keep him, that the majority of that poll would have said get rid of him.
2 weeks ago.
Recently, fairly recently. And he's finally got his stuff together. And he's got a lot of stuff to get together. Like he's got a lot of game when he's on it.
Yeah, he does.
He's a big guy, and he'll play physical, but he can shoot the puck, and he'll take it to the net and make some solid defensive plays. And we saw all of that tonight. It's
interesting, isn't it? Because often it is a matter of
he was even 3-0, 100% on the faceoff dot tonight. Like he just did it all.
Gaetan Haas was 1-11. With Khaira, it reminds me of Cassian last year, because so often it's not just the player, it's the attitude of the player and the attitude of the coach towards the player and the opportunity given to the player. Mm-hmm. And those things are just as big as the players for a lot of players, not for the really best players or the really worst players, but for the guys in the middle. Those things are huge. And, Khaira's playing with confidence. We both, I definitely saw him play in Bakersfield, and when he was just this dominant AHL player. And then we saw signs of that in the NHL. We've seen signs of that over the years. It's enough that he's still with the team all these years. It's like, 2 or 3 years when he's really been kind of a fringe player. But he can kill penalties. And when he's got his feet moving and is hustling, really, really hustling, when he makes up his mind that he's going to play like a little man with something to prove instead of a big kind of loafer, he plays a pretty strong game. So good for him. And I agree, that was certainly that. Alrighty. I'll give my one additional plaudit to Caleb Jones, who has stepped into the lineup and been everything that Joel Persson really wasn't. He's been pretty steady. He's been making solid reads and good passes. I mean, Persson just looked nervous Nelly out there. And Caleb Jones has been cool and collected and making good plays and fitting in right with Klefbom. And that's the Caleb Jones I remember from last year. And good to see it.
A little vulnerable defensively and pinching at the offensive blue line can be an adventure. But boy, he makes a lot of good plays. And that long stretch pass he fed to Zach Kassian first or second minute of tonight's game was just a thing of beauty.
Yeah,
looked up, found his target, got the puck in the air and down and on the stick of a guy 100 feet away kind of thing. Very nice, 80 feet anyway. And, looking up and looking for opportunities, not just dumping it up, and that's what they want out of these young guys. And they're getting it from Ethan Bear, and they're getting it from Caleb Jones in his short trial so far.
Yeah. I mean, Klefbom's one really rough shift came with Matt Benning at his side, not with Jones. That was that one where they had the 4 scoring chances.
Right.
All right.
It was a half change. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's hope Matt Benning's okay. He's been playing great hockey. He really has in a third pairing role. He's excelled there. So hopefully he's fine. All right, Bruce, let's leave it there. Thanks for talking tonight.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast. Oops, I gotta